Hi, hello everybody. Welcome to Sissy Jam Flat Glass India. You know why we are here for today. It's live session that we are doing with engaging architects and designers talking about glass, breaking myths about glass, telling us the new innovative ideas which they have implemented in the domain of design and by using glass. We have their expertise with us, and let's see who we have today. Before that, I call the guest that we have today. I would like to tell you a little more about Sissy Jam, especially to people who joined us for the first time. Sissy Jam is Europe's #1 glass producer, exporting to 150 countries with operations across 14 countries on 4 continents, thus establishing its global presence. They are one of the top 3 global producers of glass in all its main business lines, with 85 years of expertise and experience in glass industry and their stronghold in the market. Sissy Jam has a workforce of almost 22,000, earning a revenue of over $3 billion. About the series which we are hosting today, it's my pleasure to welcome you all, first of all, and it's an engaging live session called Design Reflections, presented by Sissy Jam Flat Glass India. Design Reflections, as the name suggests, is talking about reflections on the past, present and future of glass and the role of glass in design globally and in India, with top designers and architects coming in, discussing their experiences and experiments with glass. Our special guest for today is architect Dhananjay Lakhanpal. Before I tell you a little about him, let me tell you I am sharing a little about me as well. I am architect Himani Ahuja. I'm the co-founder and founder of One Digital, and we have a PR and communications agency, and we push forth brands and aid in making them be known in the department and domain of design through various activities. Okay, let's welcome our guest today. Introducing Dhananjay Lakhanpal, the principal architect at Studio Mathema, a man with a spectacular vision and the pillar of Studio Mathema. He displays a deep understanding of client requirements to build projects that are holistic and practical, allowing each project to take a unique life of its own. We will know from him about his projects. His zeal to discover sustainable building practices is what keeps Studio Mathema inspired. Since we have Dhananjay with us today, let's see what he has with us and what suggestions he gives us on the conscious use of materials and how he sees glass as a sustainable material. I'm joining him here with us. We will have Dhananjay with us very soon. Hi, welcome to Design Reflections. We are very happy to have you here. And since we've known about Studio Mathema at large, I've shared with our audience a little about it. However, I would want you to take this forward and take the lead and tell them a little more about the firm and about your existence in architecture and design.
As you've already, I think, told everyone, I'm Dhananjay Lakhanpal.
Right.
I'm the architect Studio Mathema. Here we do high-end architectural projects, high-end luxury residences or offices, or now we're also into hospitality sector. So these are the kind of projects that we're doing pan-India and a few abroad as well. So this is how we are right now.
Right. Absolutely. Great. So we will slowly, steadily make you reveal a little more about your projects as we talk about glass and we use about materials. So we will hear from you more. However, if you can just share with us to start with an experience from your early years that really sparked your interest to come into architecture and design. Like, how are you in this industry?
So I don't think so. I was ever, as a kid, ever interested in architecture. Frankly, I never looked at buildings in detail. I think when it was just actually my father who thought that it's a nice profession to be in, and he
Right.
thought you can, you don't have to work for anybody. You can be your own boss. Is
Yeah.
the idea that he had for me, and so he told me it's a good profession that you can take on.
Right.
So I got into architecture, but slowly and steadily it started growing on me, and it was very organic growth. And but I think in the middle, I was more interested in the theory of architecture, and slowly and steadily I developed more interest in actual buildings,
Right.
which were.
Right. Okay. So interesting. Somehow your father's want for you to be here
Yeah.
has actually, given us a good architect. That's great. Okay. So, how do you see that, since a lot of professional things are influenced by, personal experiences. So I would want to know from you, like, how do you formulate your vision and your philosophy? Like, is there a key take like that is reflected in your designs that, oh, this is Studio Mathema design?
So I don't think that there is any specific one, but one which I've noticed over the years that perhaps because I stayed in the hills as I was a kid,
Yeah.
I do whenever I'm actually designing something, I do design something which is in levels. At times when I'm even designing like a builder floor, I somehow feel it is that it has levels of a hill.
Right.
Is something that which was actually when I was studying in Shimla. I think it reminds me of my school which was there. So
Right.
I think it perhaps one of the things, but other than that, I don't think so. It's different for different projects. It's clients come with a lot of what I call baggage of their own,
Yeah.
which you have to first and then
Yeah.
get on to what we really want to do. But mostly, I think if given a chance, I think this is what I see as a constant line in my designs. As an aesthetic, it reflects a lot.
Right, right. So, since we are talking about, contours in your design, if you can run us by the kind of like the typology of projects you're doing, you already told us about what you're doing in terms of residential, but if you can just throw light and maybe share about a couple of projects that are ongoing and, which are really challenging and, currently in the pipeline.
So lately, the way we are designing, I'm finding we dealing with structures is our kind of our strength. The way we are able to address the structural problems in residential or even like the huge hospitality projects like clubs and things that we are addressing. The kind
Right.
of expanse that we are able to create, or the exhilaration that you can create just by a structure, the way it's supported and things. I think that's kind of our strength. So there is a club that is coming up, which is something which is different, is kind of exciting to me right now. And there are obviously a few residential projects in which we are experimenting with like columns of different shapes, as well as
Right.
structural systems which are addressing. It's not the only thing that I like about that. They're not put on there. It's not that we're doing it for the sake of it. It has something to do with the concept. Like when the client has come to us, he wants a strong image for the building,
Right.
and I feel that structure is dealt with nicely, and it has robust materials which are used for the right reasons. You get the right image.
Right.
So these are the projects we really like, a few residential projects and the particular club that I discussed.
Right. Interesting. Okay, so we will actually be, running on your social media platform to watch a little more on what's happening
Sure.
further on projects. However, it's very interesting. I've spoken to many people where we've spoken about their firm names, but it's very interesting how your firm is called Studio Mathema. So how did that come about, and what is the story behind that?
So again, it was an organic thing only. I was actually wanting to name it Studio Mathematics,
Okay.
but somehow I was told by somebody people will come to you to have tuitions of mathematics. So then I kind of took out. But anyway, basically, so as I told you, I was wanting to name it. I was very intrigued by how you can create a building just purely by logic,
Right.
and you can transcend most of the emotional needs also down when you are designing for somebody. If you look at it more logically, it's easier rather than flowing around with the person in a more emotional way. So I actually wanted to, that's why I name it mathematics, in which you can, understand the names and things. But Mathema is basically even deeper than that. It's basically is the root word of mathematics, and it's a Greek word which stands for that which can be learned. So
Right,
that
right.
had a deeper meaning, and think that that's how, I ended up naming it Studio Mathema.
Interesting. So, out of what we were discussing, I'll just throw in like a quick question to you. Since you were talking about the mathematics of design, I just want to know, when it comes to, let's say, specifically designing residential spaces, what is of more prominence to you? Is it the client coming with an emotional need, or is it the practicality that the built form requires? What do you have to say on that?
So I think it's, it's the complexity of the project that makes, that is actually the fodder for an architect. It's fodder for
Right,
thought. It's actually which pushes an architect. The
right,
more the complexity of a project, I feel there is better that an architect can deliver.
right,
So it's basically, if a client is coming up with something, or there are pragmatic needs, actually you as an architect have to address all. I don't
right.
think so. It's either or anything. It's then that's the part which is, I think, which tests an architect, and that's the way it should be. So I
Absolutely.
both. I prefer both. Somebody comes and just tells me, make something that you like. I really find it very difficult to do. I like
Yeah.
people who come with a lot of needs, and then they have their own whims and fancies, and they want to do something that I have not been doing. It's something that I
Right,
really like, because then
right.
it's, to think more and things. Otherwise, when they come to me for something and they're saying, do something that's just the way you've been doing, it's not challenging enough. So that's the thing I
Right,
can say.
right, right. So I think it's a part and parcel,
Yes.
and there is a need for both. Whether there is an emotional attribute coming in, because
Yes.
we're not talking about the functionality, but we're also taking in the people, especially who would be staying in that space. Right. So great, good. I mean, I think I agree with that theory. All right, let's move on to talking about what we are really here for. Talking about going green with glass, because glass has been associated with a lot of myths, and skyscrapers of Gurugram were also questioned long time back, saying that it's too much of glass. So I want to know from you that we're talking about eco-friendly innovations in glass, especially in modern interiors. So what, according to you, are like the most groundbreaking advancements that have happened in glass and technology, especially when we talk about interior spaces and architecture?
One of the major things is that, when I'm saying that we like to play with structure, so basically it means that there are huge spans
Right,
and huge spans or huge heights. So the number of members that come in between while they're breaking the members, and the sizes of those members,
right,
that aesthetically plays a huge role. So I think that the advancements that field are obviously, they are both in glass, as well as a material, as well as, the systems, which system windows, which provide a solutions, to be able to use those in different way. I think that is really helpful. And
right.
if the glass, I think, is used in the right way, and it's not exposed, and is, shaded in the right way, and is used, I think it's the most eco-friendly material.
Right, right. Okay, so can you just share with us like some key advantages and benefits of utilizing glass in a way like you talked about? If a certain sense of shade is provided, it's a better utility. So if you can share some more ways, especially when it comes to interior spaces and architecture, both like how glass can be utilized that it's considered eco-friendly then.
So basically, most of the temperature belts that we are designing right now, as of now, are, I think, if it's towards the north or the, it's pretty much, it's okay to use it there, and with the right kind of sun shading device, it can be used in the west, south, as well as, east. But the main thing that I find with glass is that, which we are also trying out in a number of projects, is being able to use it as a skylight.
Right,
And a skylight which shows you the sky. It's not a skylight which is, but it is shaded. So I think, that is something which we have been able to do in a few projects, and I think they work fabulously well. Actually, I have one at my own home.
oh, great,
I have a
great.
skylight on my
Interesting.
own kitchen, which is placed in the middle of a courtyard,
Okay,
and it's the most pleasant space in the whole house. It is
right.
lit throughout the day. there are no lights on throughout the day, and it's in a courtyard, so there is no heat. And for ventilation, there's a direct old school chimney which is taking the all the smoke up. So that allows me for an open kitchen, and because of the light entering in, it, because of the glass, it's very well ventilated, and it's obviously fresh.
Right.
So similarly, we have experimented. So basically, you can experiment the most in your own house. So that's why we did first in my own home. But the thing is, this is something that is the way to use glass. It is It is not just glass. It's every material. When you are using any material, it can be the biggest blessing, or it can be the worst thing that hand it over with. So it's just like the recent movie on the atom bomb. That guy was not after making a bomb.
Right.
It's just like that. It is the most potent source of energy that he created. So,
Right, absolutely. So I think just if you know the right way of using a certain product, it can work in your favor, like you said. And if it is exploited in a certain fashion, then it can go all wrong, right?
Yes.
So absolutely, as an architect, as a designer, one needs to be really careful about how they're putting in spaces, especially in specific spaces like a residential space or a commercial space, where the utility of lighting and the utility of going eco-friendly is really, really important, right? So I think that's the way to go. Like you said, skylight. So since you mentioned skylight, if I can just quickly throw a question there as well. The expanse of a skylight, does it need to be defined when it comes to using a glass, or can we customize it to as many sizes that we really require? Does the expanse really matter, like especially if you're utilizing it in like a courtyard space, which is a fairly larger space, or maybe like a bathroom, because sometimes people really use it there as well, right? That's a smaller space of utility. So is there a specific bracket where somebody can utilize glass, especially when we talk about urban cities?
So I think kitchens and washrooms, I think you can use it very easily, but I don't think so. It should be limited to that.
Right.
Actually, if glass used correctly, and then if the site also kind of allows,
right,
it can give you a feeling as if you're sitting outside and you are also protected by the elements.
Right.
So glass has that, and the second thing is that if it is protected in the right way, and the second challenge which is there with glass, which also needs to be addressed, is the fact the way it responds to lighting at night.
Right.
You do covering, otherwise the light will not reflect off. So this is something that I learned early in my career with glass, that though it gives you a lot of light in the daytime, but at the night time you do need a reflecting surface for it to be able to reflect light back in.
Right.
Otherwise, spaces with a lot of glass are dim at night because all the light is. So I think if these things are kind of taken care of, I think, and if it fits the concept, I think it should be used as a skylight on top of a living room with the right kind of shading and things. I think anything is possible. I don't think so that should be an issue.
Right. Absolutely. I think that's an interesting take, because everybody talks about natural light coming in during the day, but nobody really caters to what happens at night, right?
Yeah.
So that's a very interesting learning. So can you also highlight certain applications that you believe would play a significant role when we are using in the future, when we use it in interior spaces, like when we use glass in a futuristic manner? Do you have any take there where you feel that glass as a material can be utilized like this if we get a production in that direction?
So basically, I think any architect's dream is a glass which will let the light in and will not absorb the heat.
Right.
And greenhouse effect is, I think, any architect's dream.
Right.
And absolutely transparent. It will not have any kind of issues of reflection, differing on a glass, heat resistant and things. But that's with the exterior. As far as the interior is concerned, I think the size of the glass is something that I feel which will keep on pushing the envelope as the time goes on.
Right.
And basically the second is to do with the fact that we have to indulge in certain kind of hardwares to make to have soundproof fenestrations in glass. So we do need like a section in the middle and things. So I think that is something that if they can somehow address that without the typical silicone seals and kind of things, and have the transparency running in the joint as well, I think that is something that will somehow, according to me, if that is possible, I think that would be path breaking.
Right, right. Absolutely. Very interesting take. I hope people are listening to us and they bring in that reform, especially the brand that we're here for. Okay. So, tell us that, when you're designing a project, what considerations that you kind of take into consideration that, when you're selecting an eco-friendly glass product for a project, how do you ensure that they meet your design criteria? Is it at the concept level stage? Is it like in the middle of execution? When does glass come into play for you?
We use a lot of glass, so basically the selection of glass happens at the end. But the as at the conceptual level, we're pretty clear where we want glass. Because the kind of effect and the kind of space quality that it can create, that as well as the kind of facade quality it can create. If you want like in a structure, you want to create like a floating effect of a block, you need a glass block underneath. You need to use a lot of glazing. So that's from that point of view, the selection happens at the end, but where all we want to use glass and how we want to use it so that it's shaded and, in the right direction.
Right.
So that happens at the concept stage.
Right. Right. Okay. So, and what about integrating with nature? When we talk about daylighting and, the views that we have. So, with eco-friendly glass solutions, how do you create this sustainable interior space?
So basically, when the thing is that, if you have the views defined in a space, like in an interior space, we have to kind of, in Delhi, mostly define our own views. We don't have like a sea facing, or mostly we don't have a view in Delhi. So we have to define our own views, like a garden or a courtyard and things like that. So around those, the glasses, like if you're creating a glass around the courtyard, it doesn't need a shading element mostly. If it is not on the south or the west, or east, you can let it in for like a bit. North is not a problem. And
Right.
if it is like an internal facade glass, then it's basically on which direction it is and what kind of, whether we need a double skin or we need louvers or a sunshade would work or a deep veranda would work. So those are the kind of, we have various design elements which we are able to implement it. And, that's the main criteria. Whichever way we are creating the, whichever space or whichever corner is having the view, based on that, we're using glass, or as I told you, if you're using a skylight, then it's a shaded skylight, and so.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so when I talk about the future of glass, what according to you is the future? Because we've evolved from the past and now we're in the present, and we've seen the huge reformation of how glass was just used as a partition space to what and how it has been used now. So according to you as a designer, since you've been using it every day, what according to you is the reform that will bring in the future?
As I told you, it's basically the sizes, the size of the thing. So basically, the sizes are going to be one of the things. Obviously, as much of heat reduction that can happen around it. One of the things which I think has really benefited glass is like double skin buildings. Basically, the buildings which have double skin, and that has made glass even as a more. I think it has added a lot of value to glass buildings. The glass buildings now, because the double skins look aesthetically also much more, much more because of the way the light comes through, as well as inside experience is also very, it's not stationary.
Right.
And now more and more we're going into like kinetic buildings and things. So so the future, I think a lot of glass is going to be used. And basically the glass industry, I don't think so will be moving in isolation. It's the size of the glasses. Along with it, it will have to push the metal industries also, like aluminium and the other silicon industry and everything. So basically everything is going hand in hand to be able to provide the kind of solution that we need in the building. So I think basically it's going to be about the sizes. The main thing is about the sizes that's going to be there. And the second thing obviously which is there is about how heat insulation in glasses can be improved further and further, keeping intact the transparency.
Absolutely.
That is always going to be, you don't want to lose the transparency and yet you want the maximum heat insulation. So I think that is the independent trajectory which I think glass industry would have. Otherwise, it will be linked to the other material like metal, silicon, how the systems can become.
Right. let's hope for the best and hope that we reach there.
Yes.
However, let's lighten up a little. I just wanted to know from you. We ask every designer that comes on board with us here, what has been your design reflection moment? Has it come till now? You've been in the profession since many years now. What is it for you?
I don't know. It has come many times, but the main thing right now, what I feel is that right now is to do with structures. Right now, what is fascinating me is to be able to create structures which are awe-inspiring structures. It's basically is something that is exciting us. But to be able to create them in a house, that actually is right now something which we're really enjoying as a team.
Right.
To be able to create for like a larger scale building is also fun, but for a residence it's different. It also comes with like a lot of image and iconic image related issues and things. So that's something that we are enjoying as of now.
Interesting. We look forward to that. And what about to the young budding architects? What do you have to say to them? Like any piece of advice that you would want to give to them in regarding perceiving a space in today's date and age?
Firstly, I would like to believe I'm younger than them, but
absolutely, we can always advise each other. That's fine.
Because as an architect, I think you always have to believe that you are the youngest one in the room to be able to come with innovative idea.
Right.
And the thing is that I think a lot of people are into travel these days, but I think for an architect, it's important to be able to travel with an architect's eye.
Right.
So it's very difficult to explain it to somebody who's not an architect, but I think the one who understands would kind of understand what I'm saying. So if you're traveling and there is no building there also, and if you have an architect's eye, I think it can be very inspiring for you. And if you don't have an architect's eye, you can go to the best building in the world, and you can, like I told you, when I was a kid, I was hardly into architecture, and I had been to many of the best buildings around, but I had nothing to say about it. So I think that's the most important thing. If you're traveling, I think traveling will help, but the way right now the VR and the information is available. I think if somebody is researching also with an architect's eye, I think that will help. I think that's the research, whether physically or over the web. I think that's very important in all fields right now. Whether you're an architect or in any of the field, I think there's a lot to research right now.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dhananjay, for joining in. It was lovely having you, and I think everybody, our audience, has gained a lot from this session, including me. It's lovely talking to you, like always, and hope to see you very soon. Thank you for joining.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining in Design Reflections. It's a series which talks about the past, present, and future of glass with architects with their experiences. We had today with us architect Dhananjay Lakhanpal, who shared a lot with us. See you soon again, talking about glass.